Hey everyone, this is Jen and you're watching BPD Woman. On this channel, you will learn how to more effectively learn to manage with your BPD, CPTSD, or you will learn how to live more effectively if you consider yourself a highly sensitive person. I offer positive solution-based approaches to recovery, learning from my own experiences and being in treatments for the last 2 decades and living with the diagnosis for the last 3, the diagnosis being BPD. I am not a psychologist or a therapist, but I can answer one question that none of those folks can, which is, what's it like to live with BPD? And in relying on the 6 rounds of DBT, the homework, the books, the workbooks, the research, the watching of YouTube videos, the constant journaling, and really application of skills, I share with you the nuances of how to really get through to what's bugging you at the core of your BPD and how to actively and proactively apply the DBT skills that you learn in a real life setting. Okay, so in today's video, we're going to answer or try to answer that big old question, which is, what is the purpose of my life? Or what is the purpose of life? Or what am I supposed to be doing, right? And I think that the answers are going to surprise you. So let's get going. Again, my name is Jen. You're watching BPD Woman. Do me a favor. Would you hit like, subscribe, share, comment below? You'll be helping my channel and sharing with others. In today's video, you're going to understand what life worth living goals are. You're going to understand why it's hard for you to stay the course and to stick with things long term, seeing them through, like jobs or projects. You're going to learn how to determine your purpose or your goals in life by sticking true to what's important to you. And you're also going to learn to differentiate what a purpose is and what a purpose isn't. And finally, you're going to understand that struggling with what your purpose is in life is not just a BPD problem, but it is a human problem. Let's get going. So the first thing that I want to kind of throw out here is discussing why we don't know what our purpose in life is, or why do we change jobs, or why do we change boyfriends, or why do we suddenly decide that we're going to change where we live in life or our complete career paths, all of that stuff. And in doing so, the difference here between us and people, with emotional ability and impulsivity control problems is that other people without personality disorders certainly go through these life changes and crises. You've heard the very cliched midlife crisis. The thing at heart here is that we do it very impulsively without a lot of thought or reflection. And so oftentimes we sort of vacillate between, okay, I'm going to be a dog walker today, and I'm going to be a cake baker tomorrow. I'm going to be gay today. I'm going to be straight tomorrow. I mean, I'm not really giving a lot of thought to these examples. But so the reasons that you don't know a lot about who you are or what you like or what your preferences are is because they weren't nurtured growing up, right? You were surviving in a very traumatic, abusive environment. If you're like most of the people that grew up with personality disorders, your growing up space was fraught with fights, instability, rejection, pain, abuse, trauma, right? And so you didn't really have a lot of time to get to the existentialism of who you are in life, right? It's like developing nations, right? It's very easy for a first world nation to look at a third world nation and say, well, why don't they recycle? Why don't they recycle their glass? Look at all this garbage. Well, that's because people in those kinds of situations aren't really focused on recycling. They're focused on how to try to eat for tomorrow, right? And so you kind of have to triage these important decisions that you need to make in life. And so the whole prospect of who I am, what do I want in life, where am I going in life, that really doesn't come to us very naturally without a bunch of reflection, work on ourselves, and this healing of this trauma. So instead of now surviving, okay, you are in a position now where you're away from this trauma, that you're in a position to thrive. You're no longer in a position where hopefully you're being invalidated all of the time. You may be repeating relationship patterns by linking up with people who are invalidating. And so, but now you're in a position like you can explore a little bit about what it is you want. And so in your 20s, in your 30s, you may be doing some of that catch up that you necessarily weren't able to do when you were a child, right? What do I like? You know, what thing do I like? Parachuting? Do I like doing that? Do I like spicy foods? Do I like staying in and watching movies? Am I more of a homebody, or do I need to be out all of the time, right? And so you add into that emotional lability, which is the frequent and fluctuating changing of emotions. You add in impulsivity. You know, those of us with BPD, we're very impulsive. We do things very, oh, I've known you 2 weeks. I'm moving in with you. I've done that. Okay. Oh, I've known you 2 days. I'm going to say I love you, right? Okay. And then we find it hard over time to stick with these things, and we often give up because of low motivation or indecisiveness, or we just simply become very apathetic. And so these things make it hard to stay the course. And this is why oftentimes you hear this criterion of BPD about marked emotional disturbances, frequent changes of identity, right? They don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. You know, perhaps you are shape-shifting to be a part of other people's lives, so you take up interests that you probably wouldn't necessarily be involved in. You know, let's say you're with somebody and they're really into tattooing, okay, and they're a tattoo artist and they have a bunch of tattoos. And to be kind of a part of this group, you may start to get tattoos, but maybe, you know, you realize years later, I didn't really like these tattoos. You know, why did I even do this? You know, we all have these things. However, this is different, of course, than really being turned on to something that you come to know, like a type of cuisine or a place to travel to, or a job. You can be turned on to those things, and that doesn't mean that you're shape-shifting, right? Like, I was introduced to scuba diving by my ex-husband, and I never thought that I would get into scuba diving. I was kind of terrified of it. But then after he got me into it, I'm like, it's okay, it's really me. It's mine. I've made it mine, right? So you can be introduced to things and it's not necessarily because you're shape-shifting. So this is sort of the background, right? You weren't able to bounce your ideas off mom. You weren't able to talk through important life decisions with dad. You kind of had to make it up as you go. And so you were a little bit directionless, you know, without much of an anchor with your parents. And now you kind of find yourself dealing with the wreckage of this in adulthood. And so one of the very first things that I came across in DBT is what they called life worth living goals. And this is sort of twofold, right? Not only is it to keep you invested in your emotional recovery and not to give into things like suicidal ideation, cutting, self-harm, but it's to give you a purpose or direction of things that you'd like to accomplish. And so I've done a video, and so this is going to be sort of the first thing on how you're going to know what your purposes are in life, is to create life worth living goals. And at the beginning of the year, I did a couple of videos about goal board setting. You know, taking a dry erase board, taking a piece of paper, writing it on your phone, and writing out what goals are important to you. And I've done them in sections. So what are my mental health goals? What are my financial goals? What are my social goals? What are my exercise goals, right? What are my health goals? So, you know, and then looking at it every day. Because the more that you actually look at these goals, the more that they're actively in front of your face, the higher the probability is that you're going to keep up with them and keep on them. For instance, here, I'm just going to rattle off some of what my goals are. Focusing more on being positive and not complaining as much. That was one. One of my health goals was to get a COVID vaccine. I've done that. One of my health goals was to exercise more. I'm doing more of that. My financial goals were to reduce my debt. I'm working on that, right? So these life worth living goals are big ticket items, and then underneath those you want to break those out, and this is what I watch those videos. I've gotten feedback that they were very helpful. That you break down these goals into actionable small items, because the other thing that those of us with BPD tend to do is we really look at things in extremes. And so if we can't get something done all in one day or all in a week, we're kind of like, why bother? We kind of find it hard to stay the course. And so writing out actionable goals into tangible sections that are manageable set us up for success, because we're not overwhelming ourselves and setting us up for something that we really can't accomplish. So the key to tapping into what these life worth living goals are is really the first part of this is, okay, you're gonna realize, okay, I've been through a lot of trauma. I don't really know who I am. And now I'm gonna find out a little bit of who I am and what my life worth living goals are. So you can count that as 1, 2, 3. So knowing who you are takes a lot of time. It's not going to come easy. And again, not knowing exactly who you are all the time doesn't have to be a projection or a result of having BPD. It could just be that you're a person and you're not really sure, right? Maybe you've always lived with a boyfriend or girlfriend and suddenly now you're living on your own. You're like, you know what? I actually kind of really enjoy living on my own. I don't know why I haven't done this before, right? It can be a journey. So, things that differentiate who you are and knowing yourself, what are your tastes? What are your political aspirations or beliefs? What are your morals? What are your ethics? What are your boundaries? Do you want to hang around with people that drink and smoke, or would you rather hang out with people who are sober? And then what are your activities? Do you like mountain biking or do you like yoga? Or do you like both? And then sticking through to these things to be true. So marking down these goals, here's an example. Okay, life worth living goals, money. Here's some of my money goals. Invest more in my 401k, buy my own home, and plan for retirement for my future. Am I exactly where I want to be with all 3 of those goals that I just named? Not really, but they're at my forefront. So my lease for my apartment's up in November. I want to go ahead and try to get a mortgage and buy my own house and then have a little yard for my dog to run and then have it be my own, right? So this is a life worth living goal. This is something that I'm striving for. Now, life worth living goals give us meaning and they work towards goals or things that we want to accomplish in life. Okay, but what if you don't have the motivation to have these goals, right? What if you're depressed? What if, you think that keeping busy is parallel with a life worth living? Well, this is something that over time and therapy and self-discovery, you're really going to have to manage out on your own. It certainly didn't happen for me overnight. For a very, very long time, I thought that I wanted kids and I wanted to be married. And now I'm like, well, I don't really think I need to be married. Is it a nice idea? Would I be open to it? Sure. Is it something that I really, really need? No. Do I really want kids? I'm a little bit past that age. But I wouldn't mind someone else's kids or fostering a child, right? So, over time, some of these things can change. I know that I don't want to have a roommate. I know that I prefer living on my own. That works better for me. So these are ways that I'm true to myself, right? Other ways that I'm true to myself. I know that hanging around people that drink or smoke a lot, that's not right for me. I like to be very active. I feel better when I'm active, right? I feel better when I'm being creative or I'm posting one of these videos. That's how I know that I'm sort of tapping into the things that I like to do. Now, keeping busy isn't a purpose of life, right? Some people configure their careers and they align that with how much money they make, and they align that with their success, and they align that with what their purpose in life is, right? Work, that's a big one. Work's my purpose, work's my purpose. For some people it's family, some people it's religion, right? Here's the thing. The purpose of life is very individual, and there is no concrete answer. And honestly, for me, I don't think there is a purpose in life. Not a huge one that you might think, okay, this is definitely the purpose of life for me. I had a very existential crisis when I went to college, when I was 19 years old. What is the meaning of life? What am I supposed to be doing? I'm so confused. Help. Okay. I had a friend say, to be happy and enjoy the world. That's the purpose of life, I think if you asked me now, I'd say my purpose of life is to enjoy it, right? How do you enjoy it? Well, for me, I really like making people laugh. I like laughing. I really enjoy traveling. You know, I live for planning really cool vacations. I think that's fun. Being a steward of the earth. I'm a huge, conservationist when it comes to ocean related matters. That really gives me purpose. Preserving the environment. That's a huge purpose for me. Being kind to animals, right? Being kind to children. I mean, do I hit all of these all of the time? No, of course not. But work in life does not necessarily necessitate purpose. There are plenty of people who have a job and they don't like it. It's not their purpose, you know? Think of it right now. Are you in the job that you thought you would be in when you were a child? Is this your lifelong dream? Maybe not, you know? So the idea of what goals are very different, and what life worth living goals are is very different than what the purpose of life is. And again, both of those things are very different for all kinds of different people. It's staying true to you. So a life worth living goal for me is, okay, I changed careers. I became self-employed. Why? Because working for the corporate America and politicos was just absolutely soul-sucking. I hated it, and I made tons of money. Tons of money. You know, I make about 30 to 40% less right now than what I used to. Guess what? I'm tons happier, right? So what's more important? My happiness and my mental health, or how much money I make? My happiness and mental health, right? And again, if you're finding it hard to stay the course, then maybe that course isn't for you. Just a thought. Other things that interest you can also become a purpose. For me, I really like photography, right? I really enjoy creating things. I like entertaining. I like having little dinner parties. Those are fun things for me. They're not necessarily my purpose. I think if you ask me what my purpose is to enjoy life and leave it in a little better spot than when I found it. I think that's my purpose. Now, I mentioned this at the beginning, but is this just a problem that those with BPD have? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is a human problem. And again, I go back to this all the time. Your BPD is merely a lens of which you see the world, distorted, cognitively maladaptive, with behaviors that are built in for you that are ineffective. And people have identity crises all the time. People decide after 25 years of marriage they don't want to be married to somebody anymore. People decide at 40 years old, like I did, I want to do a whole different career, right? It's not that they have identity disturbance issues. It's just that people decide over time that their priorities in life change. Like I have a neighbor downstairs, he's in his late 30s, and he's like, I've been taking classes at a community college for 8 years. He's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. That happens all of the time. People make career changes all the time. Vera Wang, very famous wedding dress designer. She didn't open her first shop till she was like 40 or 50, right? Lots of people make changes in their life all of the time. Sometimes people come out as gay or they come out as trans, right? It doesn't mean they have a personality disorder. So not knowing your purpose in life or what your life worth living goals are doesn't necessarily mean that you have a personality disorder. It just means you're human. The thing here is that the black and white thinking and the emotional lability and the frequent mood instability, those things make it a lot more difficult to stay the course and to figure out what it is you want in life. People just get lost and confused. So knowing all of this, how do you make those life worth living goals? Well, the first thing I'd ask you to do is go watch those videos that I did about goal setting. Okay, that's the first thing that I recommend, because goal setting and really labeling out, and I do it, and I write out my goals with you, so it's sort of an exercise that we do it together. Knowing what that means to you, and you're not going to look, we're only planning 1 year in advance. You're not doing a 10-year plan, okay? You're going to stay in the moment, and you're going to like, okay, these are my big goals. How do I go about getting a house in 3, 6, 9, 12-month increments? How do I save up for vacation in 3, 6, 9, 12-month increments, right? What are the things I like? Am I happy in my job? Do I want to get out of my job? What is the plan that I can make myself to extricate myself from my job in the next 6 months? Do I want to open up my own business? What are the things that opening up my own business? Think about what you're good at. What am I good at? Okay, I'm good at photography. I'm good at writing. I'm good at making people laugh. I love movies, right? These are the things that I'm really tied into. Then you're going to stick to these plans. You're going to put that goal board in a place where you see it every day. You're going to check up at, okay, how am I doing with my goals? How am I doing? You're going to actively work at your goals, and you're going to take it little by little. Again, not writing a big chapter at once. You're going to write a paragraph of the chapter day by day, and that's how you're going to stick with it. If you have low motivation, okay, you can have periods of low motivation. You can also have periods of high motivation. Capitalize on those. Take those off. You know, today I'm being pretty lazy. That's okay. Your body and your mind need you to be lazy sometimes. Again, I don't confuse busyness with purpose. Your body needs to be bored. Your body needs time to relax. You know, your mind needs to wander sometimes. That's the opposite of mindfulness, is mindlessness. Let me know what you think. You know, do you have life worth living goals? Have you found it hard to know what your purpose is in life? Do you confuse purpose with busyness? You know, do you know who you are? What are the obstacles that you face? Leave me your comments below. My name is Jen. You've been watching BPD Woman. Please like, share, subscribe. And until I see you next time in everything you do, please be effective.